It's time to go behind enemy lines once again to get even some more deets on the Buffalo Bills. We're going to have a special guest from the other side to break down that game and preview this pivotal matchup where first place in the AFC East is on the line. Let's go, baby, here on a Saturday.
I'm going to lose my gosh darn bananas. Boy Green Daily starts now. Zoinks!
I made it clear that my intention was to play, and my intention was to play for the New York Jets.
What's going on, people? Good morning and welcome to Boy Green Daily, a daily New York Jets video show, also available wherever you get your podcasts. If you prefer not to stare at my face, and I wouldn't blame you if you chose door number 2. I am Paul Eston Jr., aka Boy Green. Welcome to the show, everybody. And we're about to preview the other side, the Buffalo Bills, get some insights because there are some very interesting things on the injury report for both the Buffalo Bills and the New York Jets. We'll get into all of that. Shout out to everybody who's watching or listening. Make sure you guys like the video, hit subscribe as soon as you step in. We're well over 7,000 subscribers, which we appreciate. So shout out to all of you guys. And a special shout out to the Boy Green Coffee Club. What is that? That is my YouTube membership group. That's also the pinned comment on YouTube right now, live if you're watching. Join the Boy Green Coffee Club here. You guys can help support the show, keep the lights on, and the more you guys invest, the more I can invest into the show. So if you guys can do that, it's only $2.99 a month. And speaking of, let's flip the switch. We're 204 members away from NY Jets FL getting his membership. And let's keep, again, everyone in our thoughts and love with all the storms happening down there in Florida. So 1,000%, let's keep our thoughts and everything down there as well. We'll be joined by our Buffalo Bills analyst in just a few minutes. But before we get there, I just kind of wanted to talk about the Jets-Bills rivalry for a second. To every Jets fan, it's different. I've heard, and again, I don't want to generalize, but I've heard that like older Jet fans hate the Dolphins from all the Dan Marino stuff. A lot of Jet fans in my generation that have been smacked around by the Patriots for the 21st century, they hate the Patriots. And, you know, that's still true. I hate New England, even with Tom Brady not there or Bill Belichick not there. I hate the Patriots. So I thoroughly enjoyed, you see it on the Boy Green Meets Woody, intro, where we're celebrating the beating of the New England Patriots. That all feels terrific and amazing. And I love that, and I will always love that. I hate the Patriots. But I'm going to be honest. One fan base that has kind of flipped me the other way are the Buffalo Bills. For a long time, like on Monday, when the Buffalo Bills look at the New York Jets, quite frankly, they're looking in a mirror. The Buffalo Bills, in this century, it just happened pre-Josh Allen. There was a 17-year playoff drought for the Buffalo Bills. We're complaining about a 13-year playoff drought. The Buffalo Bills had a 17-year playoff drought here in the 21st century where they didn't make the playoffs. They were the lovable losers. Geez, the Buffalo Bills. Look at that team who could never make the playoffs. And then when I looked at them, I'm like, damn, look at that team, man. They're going through some issues. They're going through some struggles. And then the Bills make the playoffs, and then they've had a lot of success. They've won the division 4 years in a row. Sal Capaccio mentioned they have like 6 playoff wins in this short period of time and an AFC championship game appearance and all this jazz. A lot of success. And I think it's gotten to their heads. Now, good for them. Maybe if the Jets won the division 4 years in a row, I'd be walking around with a little pep in my step, perhaps. But nonetheless, the Buffalo Bills have gotten after me, though. You see it as the YouTube thumbnail of this. Dion Dawkins, that fat bastard. He's gotten under my skin, which has ignited this rivalry. There's some extra juice for Jets Bills that may not have been there previously. So 1,000% Dion Dawkins has really juiced this up of being in this rivalry and stoking the flames and doing the stuff against Michael Clemens. I actually got one of the quotes here because he joined Vlad TV, and here was his quote. that he said in February. Quote, I hate them, all of them, bro. When it comes to sports, there are people that play the sport because they love the sport, and then there's people that play the sport just to try to be cool. I feel like they play the sport to try to be cool. Those are a bunch of dudes that just want to take pictures on Instagram. That's whack. And throughout this week, he's poked and prodded, saying he loves the rivalry. He said he loves the rivalry and the trash talk back and forth and the intensity of it. He said, come out swinging, come for sure swinging, as, again, he continues to poke and prod the other side of the fan base. So, oh, yeah, this has some juice. My father chiming in says, or Jay Reeves, excuse me. Terrence Hill is not my father. This is not an episode of Maury. I just simply clicked the wrong button. But my father, yes. Be honest, you'd be acting exactly the same way if the Jets had success that the Bills have had of late. Let me just say this. Let's let the Jets win the division 4 years in a row, and I will tell you exactly how I feel. I will be a straight shooter. So, yes, please. I'd love to win the division 4 years in a row. How about this? Let's just start here. I'd like to win the division once. It's been 22 years since the Jets have won the AFC East, and that's why this game on Monday night is so friggin' important. It is so massively important. And I've been talking to Bills people all throughout the week, and they kind of just look at it as another game. They say it's week 6. You know, if the Jets take first place in the AFC East, there's plenty of time to turn it around and things of that nature. And that's a motivational thing to say after the fact. But to me, I really want this game. The Bills went to Miami and beat the Dolphins. So we could say what we want, but they went on the road and beat the Dolphins. If they went on the road and beat the Jets, those are the two teams competing for the AFC East outside of the Bills. So if they do that and they have it in their back pocket that they already beat they at minimum split with the Dolphins and at minimum split with the Jets, and who gives a crap about the Patriots? They play them in 2 of the last 3 weeks of the season. Thank you, NFL scheduling gods, for that. That's pretty nice and juicy for the Patriots to stack a couple, the Bills, to stack a couple of wins against the Patriots at the end of the year. But if they had both of those and then the other ones are at home, that is benefit Buffalo Bills. That is in their corner. That is advantageous to them, if that indeed does come to fruition. So this is why it's so important. The Jets have won 2 straight at home against the Buffalo Bills at MetLife Stadium. So now they're going to have to do it again. They're going to have to do it again. Let's take a peek ski. Let's go ahead and look ahead at the injury report here. It just came out yesterday. Let's take a look at that. Take a good old gander, if I may, at the latest injury report. Let's see what we got here for the New York Jets and the Buffalo Bills. And we're going to be seeing the classic uniforms. Classic, I feel old that they're calling that classic. That does make me feel incredibly old. I will just say that right off the top rope. It does make me feel old. Let's go to NewYorkJets.com. We'll get that injury report here in just a second. And again, congrats to the Yankees, those bastards. We have Yankees and Mets both in the Final Four. So shout out to the Yankees. Maybe we'll get a Subway Series, World Series. Who knows? All right, here's our injury report from Friday. Michael Carter II did not practice. I'm going to just be honest. We'll see, obviously, the injury report today on Saturday. I don't think Michael Carter II's playing. This is an injury that started off, I believe, at first it was an ankle way back when. Then it was a hamstring, and the hamstring has now crept into his back. This is all terrible news. Michael Carter II would surprise me greatly if he played in this game. Tyler Conklin's been a limited participant all week, so it's kind of one that you're kind of looking at sideways like, okay, let's keep an eye out for it. Morgan Moses has been limited all week, but all the positivity and conversation appears to be that Morgan's going to be fine. He's going to play in the game. That's a great boost for the offensive line for the New York Jets. We'll see on C.J. Mosley, who's also been a limited participant throughout the week. We'll see. He had a ramp-up practice earlier this week. Aaron Rodgers, limited participant all week, but he's good. So he's going to play. Tyron Smith gets do not practice and limited participant. Nothing to worry about. That's part of his vet rest day schedule. And then Likey Fotu, full participant back-to-back. He was also a full participant, throughout the entire week. So that makes you feel good. By the way, I see people are saying Eccles is a really good backup. He does not play when Michael Carter II does not play. That's actually Isaiah Oliver. He gets those reps. So shout out to Isaiah Oliver, who's been making some plays. So if MC2 is out, Isaiah Oliver will be in the starting lineup. Brandon Eccles, I know size-wise, people go, oh, cool. He's going to be the nickel. No, actually, he plays boundary corner. So it's going to be Sauce, DJ Reed, and Isaiah Oliver in our nickel defense. But hopefully Eccles does get on the field because it's just great to see him because Eccles is a lot of fun. He's a game changer. He's a playmaker. He's a really fun player. He's a really fun player. So I like Brandon Eccles. It's going to be tough because we're probably going to be losing a bunch of these guys. Unfortunately, it just is. It is what it is from that perspective. That's unfortunate. Like guys like, well, we'll see with Jamie Sherwood, who is a pending free agent. We'll see what his story is. But Brandon Eccles, he's probably going to want to go to a place where he gets more PT. And like I said, it's hard to blame him for that. It is absolutely hard to blame him, if we're being honest, from that perspective. Let me see here. I'm trying to find the Buffalo Bills injury report. 1 second. I was trying to find it off their website, but we'll just go to their Twitter. They're going to have it there. I want to give you guys the latest. They have a lot of guys that are not practicing, and I think that's going to be good news for the New York Jets. Not that you root for injuries, of course, but it is what it is. I mean, that's part of the conversation. In terms of injuries happening and the Jets potentially benefiting from some of these injury situations. So let me just go over here to this and we'll get that on injury designations. James Cook is 1 to 1,000% watch in this game. He hadn't been practicing for a couple days. Here we go. I got Khalil Shakir, totally up in there. James Cook, totally up in the air. Von Miller, we haven't really talked about this one. Let's get into this a little bit because it was in the middle of all kinds of other big news for the Jets. Von Miller suspended, man. Von Miller suspended. He's not going to be out there for this game. And Von Miller, who has had up and down nature with the Buffalo Bills because of some of his injury issues, he had a sack in the first 3 games of the season. Sack. He was looking good, and all of a sudden removed for the 4-game suspension. So that's a major benefit to the Jets. Ed Oliver out in the front. He's not going to play. He's got a hamstring injury. So take him out. It looks like the Bills will be benefited. It looks like Taron Johnson, they're all-pro nickel defender. Should have been Michael Carter II, but they're all-pro nickel defender. He looks like he'll be back. He's missed like either the entire season or most of it. So let's keep an eye out for that for Taron Johnson while he's there. That'll be one to see. Chris Cortez says, I read Boy Green's article on the Reddick mess on Heavy. Oh boy, what a mess he's made for himself. Sounds like I got to write another article on Hassan Reddick because I just read something this morning about this other wild situation he's got going out as well. Danny, you did not. I'm waiting for, let's see. Yeah, it looks like Anthony will not be able to come on unless we're still live at that point. He just gave me a DM and asked if we could do 8:30. So I will try to message him now live on the show as we're all together. 1 moment. Here we are. So we'll see. Anthony said he just had something come up. So well-timed on that, Danny. And Real Life on Twitter asking the question, did he miss Ant? Ant currently just messaged me, said he had something come up. So TBD. We will see. He said he could join at 8:30. That is in 45 minutes. So we'll see if we're still on the show at 8:30. I'm sure we will be with the phone lines open and everything of that nature. So we'll see. I guess I'll let him know. 1 second, guys. I'll play a quick Hep video. We'll be right back, and we'll probably open up the phone lines, talk as well, and I'll give you some more on the Bills. But hang on tight.
Boy Green Daily, Boy Green Daily, Boy Green Daily. Talking just football, man. Boy Green Daily, Boy Green Daily, Boy Green Daily. The New York Jets Football Club. Wow. Offense, defense, special teams. Watch the Super Bowl season with Boy Green. J-E-T-S. Jets. Boy Green Daily, Boy Green Daily, Boy Green Daily. You're talking Jets football, man. Boy Green, Boy Green Daily, Boy Green Daily, Boy Green Daily. The New York Jets Football Club. Wow. Offense, defense, special teams. Watch the Super Bowl season with Boy Green. Jets, Jets, Jets.
Hep, he's an absolute legend. We love Hep. He's one of the best in the business. We love Hep. All right, let's open up the phone lines. We'll see if Anthony is able to come on later in the show to talk all things Jets Bills. We'll also continue to talk about some of the Bills storylines I'm keeping an eye out for as we get to that game. Let me throw this up here. Call into the show here. Boom. That call-in link is now live. You guys can click that. It's the pinned comment on youtube.com/boygreen25. If you'd like to call into the show and get involved, feel free to do so as we continue to talk some Jets Bills. We've got Jets Bills on Monday Night Football, baby. Love it. Good morning to Snowball here in the chat. Hello. How we doing? Okay. FL Phil 98, Chris Cortez, Galatron, all these Boy Green Coffee Club members, Jared B, Matthias. And look at that. Hey, fellers. Hep joined us here on the show. Good morning.
Hey, Paul. Hey, guys. I'm thinking we're down a defensive coach now,
Yeah.
right? I always thought that CJ Mosley would be a good player coach.
I think so too. I think he's going to kind of serve in both those roles. The thing I feel really good about, and I heard Marquand Manuel talk about this yesterday in his media availability, one of the defensive assistant coaches, is, man, I love our coaches on the defensive side. We have Tony Oden, we have Aaron Whitecotton, we have Rudy at linebacker. Like, man, we got so many guys that I feel really great about the defense, even though obviously they are, to your point. Jeff Ulbrich is maintaining his defensive coordinator job and everything, but obviously he has to handle all the head coaching stuff too. So it is nice to know that we have all those guys. But I think you're right. CJ Mosley, if somehow, like, let's say he's not available for Monday night, flip on the headset basically and be a coach, or even if he is playing, I think he can really help smooth some of those waters over. I know everyone's in love with Jamian Sherwood and this guy and that guy. I think CJ Mosley is an important piece to the puzzle.
Yeah, and I think he can make a good transition into coaching. I think he's got the right attitude, and he has a lot of respect from those players. The other thing is our tight end has looked really bad this year with blocking. I don't know what happened. I can't. Is it Middleton? I don't think so. I mean,
It's a good question because everyone has sucked. I read the same stuff you did. Brendan Bates, the guy we scooped up from the Bears, he's been awful. The tape is disgusting. Tyler Conklin, for as much as we like him, the receiving game against the Patriots was fun, but the run blocking for him has been terrible. Jeremy Rucker, terrible. Damn, it looks like we might just have to stick a thing of dynamite in this tight end room and blow it up this offseason and just totally get new guys, which is unfortunate because I like Tyler Conklin, the person, but I have no idea what's going on. You would think at a bare minimum that the run blocking would be okay, and then we'll see what we get out of the receiving game, but no, it's been terrible.
Maybe we'll have to pivot and just use the backs as opposed to the tight ends for the blocking. I don't know. Unless this week they're going to straighten it out.
Yeah.
I can't see a decline that quickly. I don't know. I really don't know.
Right, because Jeremy Rucker, that was supposed to be a strength coming out of college, and that's why I was like, oh, great. At a minimum, because like he didn't show really anything receiving-wise, but it kind of seemed like because of all the talent on the Ohio State offense. So, well, I remember saying to myself, well, at least he can block. I mean, that'll help. And then now, no, I guess not. So,
yeah. Well, anyway, I expect good things this Monday, and I think we're going to win. And let's see what happens, fellas. We're going to do all right.
Damn straight. Appreciate you, Hep. Thanks for joining us here on the show. Yeah, I feel very confident going into this game. There's a lot of reasons why. Number one, interim coaches. I did the math since 2010. Again, that's a 15-year sample size. Interim coaches, I believe I had it, are 17 and 15 in their first games taking over a team. So there's been a lot of examples, and you get an immediate boost. So the problem with the Jets over the last couple of weeks is they have come out flat, lethargic, dead, zombie-like at the beginning of games, and Saleh hadn't changed it. So number one, right off the bat, that's a major issue. That is a major issue. And Jeff Ulbrich coming in. Jeff Ulbrich is an energy guy. That is palpable. That is going to affect the team. So the change itself is going to affect the team. Jeff Ulbrich literally being the guy is going to change that energy and chutzpah at the beginning. There's no question about that. So that's certainly going to help the conversation. No doubt about it. You love to see that. And then, the penalties, the way it just feels like there's a different tonality with what we're talking about here. Some of the penalties, like, the penalties are broken down into 3 categories. This one, this one, this one. These 2 are okay. This one, is tough. Like Jeff Ulbrich came out in his first press conference when we're talking about, hey, what about this? What about this? What about this? And one of the first questions asked was, what about the penalties? And he said, this shit is unacceptable. Boom. And said, these pre and post snap penalties are unacceptable. We will fix it. And it's like, oh, okay. He is laying it on the line. There's no interpretation. There's no like, oh, well, I don't like yelling at the players. And there was none of that. There was, booyah, this is going to happen. Now, obviously, with everything I'm saying, this is all words. It's all words. A lot of Jet fans are going to be like, all right, Paul, show me the results. I don't give a flying hoot whether Ulbrich is on this side, that side, or the other. Whichever way, whatever the case is, this, that, or the other, people are going to say it's a results-oriented business, and we want results, regardless of what happens. Regardless of what happens. He can be quiet about the penalties, and then they're fixed. He can be loud about the penalties, they're fixed. Jet fans just want them fixed. And it's a fair question comment to have. It's a fair question or comment to have. But yeah, I'm fired up. I've said this a few times this week. I can't say it enough. I'm happy Ulbricht's getting this chance. Neither he nor myself saw this as the chance that Ulbrich was going to get. Like, here's his first head coaching opportunity because Robert Saleh's head was lopped off in the head coach firing circle. And now Ulbrich gets his chance. Again, I didn't necessarily have that on the bingo card. But we don't know how our opportunities come. They just come. And now he has to take full advantage of it. And I can't say this enough this week. He has the greatest opportunity an interim head coach has ever had. Sometimes you see, for instance, think about this. Nathaniel Hackett. Our good old buddy Nathaniel Hackett. He was the head coach of the Denver Broncos. He was fired after Christmas. So think about like kind of how the schedule runs, right? Like Ulbricht's about to play his first game here in the middle of October. Nathaniel Hackett was fired, and the guy that replaced him only coached for like 2 or 3 games. Ulbrich has 12 games. He has a massive sample size. He has 3 months of football. 3 months of football to prove whether or not he could be a head coach in this league. And this is going to give him a great chance. A great chance. He's got a Hall of Fame quarterback who did not play well against the Vikings. Straight up, he did not play well. And then you go to some of the other pieces of the puzzle. The defense has been really good, but we haven't been getting the most out of our talent. Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, go through the list of guys that are not playing up to snuff. Garrett Wilson's coming off a career game, but let's put that aside. Look at the full season, and these guys have not been maximizing their talent. So that's another thing that we'll see if Ulbrich / his coaching staff of Todd Downing being the new play caller is going to change that. We'll see. All right, let's head back to the phone lines. A little hop on pop early. Esden Zone joins us here on a Saturday. Father?
Good morning. I saw you threw up the bacon light. It's like the bat signal, the bacon signal. So
that's true. Yes.
I figured I'd hop on. I would have been on earlier today, but I'm on tomorrow. So
yeah, well, there you go. That's just Andy.
Yep. So, anyways,
sure.
I haven't been on, I don't think, since the Saleh.
The news. No, I think you're right. You have not.
Since Saleh got the size 11 that he should have gotten, 9 months ago. But okay. I'm glad that he finally did it. You kept saying over and over again, Woody Johnson has never made an NC. Well, now is the time. Unfortunately, he's 9 months late and $1 short. Not the dollar I owe Jared B, by the way, but I still owe him $1. But it's unfortunate, and I think they might get a bump in play this week, but in the long run, they don't have the candidate that they could have had 9 months ago. and you just have to say it. I'm not going to say it again, but I'll say it once, right? The coaches that they could have brought in, who they're going to end up with is not who they would have chosen 9 months ago when the market's wide open. And so there's going to be consequences to that.
It might work out potentially. So, like, for instance, one name that's been very high on my list, although Robert's always been employed, so it is what it is, so it wouldn't matter who the guy is Ben Johnson. And you guys are going to see him this weekend in that Cowboys-Lions game. He's their offensive coordinator. He looked through a lot of jobs and just said, I'm not ready yet. There's unfinished business in Detroit, which means even if the Jets job was available, I imagine he'd come to that same conclusion. So the Jets delaying their year of search, that could work out to, if he, accomplishes or quenches any thirst he has left with the Lions, the Jets could give him this offer he can't refuse. I imagine if Ulbrich doesn't work out, and by the way, if he ends up being the head coach, that's great news. That must have been something great happened this season and all that jazz. I'd be intrigued by that. But let's say that doesn't happen. I imagine Woody's going to go to the offensive side of the ball, where he has not gone a lot during his ownership group of hiring a head coach. It's not been a lot of offensive guys, very limited offensive guys. I believe he wants to go to that side with all the offensive problems the Jets have had for a long time. So, for instance, maybe it'll be a blessing in disguise because they couldn't have gotten that guy last year. They could get that guy in 2025 offseason.
Yeah, I like you are the king. Put the crown on. Go ahead, put the crown on. You are the king of bullshit positivity, right? You don't even glance at reality. Reality's over there. It's like, I don't care. I'm not answering that door.
So who did they miss out
pretty
on?
Pretty good around here.
Who do you think they missed out on? Let me pull them up. I'll pull up all the head coaches that were just hired.
The list is long. You know what? Your sister Haley would have been a better head coach than Saleh.
Oh, that's not nice.
All right. And by the way, Woody Johnson needs to gather all the people over the years, get them all in headquarters. Come all in. We're going to have a meeting. And everyone that's ever given advice on a head coach, he's going to treat him like Oprah. You're fired, and you're fired, and you're fired. Saleh, Gaze, it goes on and on. Rich Kotite, he has had some of the worst advice. And by the way, you probably didn't get advice when you had Bill Parcells. Bill Parcells? Anyone? Right. So the other head coaches suck. Right? And it's just the truth. We try. And so I hope it's better. I am the guy that's answering the door when reality's pounding on it. Here's the reality. This Magoo that's going to run the offensive plays, he wasn't good enough to be the offensive coordinator at Jump Street. And even though he was in the building, they tried to go get somebody else to help with the offense. So this guy they're like Hackett and this guy, and they picked Hackett. That's a warning. That's a warning sign.
Yeah, I guess. But I don't know if that's a warning sign. Like Hackett was going to be the guy no matter what because of the Aaron Rodgers stuff. When he was hired initially and even this offseason with the change, apparently Hackett would have still retained, just like he is now, he would be the offensive coordinator and there's senior guy who may have been the play caller. So like that part would have been the same. I think it would have been.
I want that job Hackett has. Whatever Hackett's job is now, like in the middle of the game, he's going to go pass peanuts to the upper deck. Is he going to be the shotgun T-shirt guy? Is that what he's going to do?
Which, by the way, he's not getting paid any less for this new activity.
No, that's why I want his job.
Right? I know.
Does he carry around the towel that Rodgers used to clean off his nether regions? I mean, what is he doing?
Okay, here's what I want to do. And this is not like a joke thing. I'm curious because I haven't even thought about the head coaches that were just hired last cycle, and it's a good conversation to have. So I'm going to mention the name. And
you give me the names, and then let's go about the ones that weren't hired.
Sure,
I bet we're going to come up with a long list of people that we would have been better off having.
No, that's why I want to play this game. So again, I'm going to give you the head coach and where they ended up going, and you just tell me whether you think it's a missed opportunity for the Jets or not incomplete. You don't know yet because the names like whatever you have no take on it yet. So I'll go through the names. It's in no particular order. Raheem Morris, he's the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons.
Maybe let's have a maybe pile.
Okay. And that's
Maybe.
sure, yeah, 100%. Maybe I don't need to say he would have been great or he'd
The
be
Falcons,
terrible. Yeah,
and that's just me being fair, because the
sure,
Falcons have
no, yeah,
looked decent, right?
hmm
But I think the jury's still out. It's too soon to call on him. But I mean, because you could easily say yes, because the Falcons have been all right. But I'm going to go
yeah.
maybe.
Okay, Mike McDonald, Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah. I'm going to say no, and I'll say that because they look like the Seattle Seahawks of every year for the past 10 years, right?
hmm
Where they go 3-0. Hey, look at they're the shiny object on the floor. Oh no, we suck again. Oh no, we suck
Yeah.
again. So he's a no.
Okay. Dan Quinn, Washington Commanders.
That's a shocking one. I'm going to still put him in the maybe pile, and more because he's not going to get full credit from me. In a different scenario, a different person would get more credit for me than Dan Quinn. And I don't have hatred for Dan Quinn or anything like that. Although he is the person that's single-handedly responsible for Dallas being early out in the playoffs the last two. Single-handedly responsible for Dallas being booted out of the playoffs. And he's also single-handedly responsible for the biggest playoff embarrassment in the history of the planet Earth. So, with that being said, he's a maybe with a lean to the no, based on his body of work, historical body of work. Messed over, ruined, wrecked two franchises. So he looks shiny now, but when you look closer, he's just a peanut in the turd.
Yeah, I think he would have been intriguing to the Jets. He was born in New Jersey. He has a lot of ties. He watched the Jets growing up. Like there's something there that I could have seen Woody sell himself as a hometown boy of potentially going with. So that one's kind of intriguing. This is a big one and this name I'm about to say is someone Woody Johnson has been rumored to covet forever, which would have been very interesting if they give him this crazy offer, what he would have said. I imagine he still would have said no, but Jim Harbaugh of the LA Chargers, I imagine he would have been, yeah, Justin Herbert, yeah, I want to go over there.
Yeah, so that's a yes. Harbaugh is a 100% yes. Yes, the Jets would be 1,000% better off.
Yeah. And like I said, I'm not even sure if he would have taken the job, but Woody might have
Right.
made
No,
him an
no.
offer he couldn't refuse. But that one's a good one. That's a good name.
And I'll tell
Absolutely.
you what, if you remember what I've said over the past couple of years, he's exactly who the Jets needed, right? And now you go back, if you could have got him 2 years ago, right,
Mm-hmm.
and then not taken Aaron, and I'm not picking on Aaron Rodgers, not Aaron Rodgers' hatred, but his philosophy with that defense, his offensive mentality is exactly what would have propelled the Jets to break the playoff drought, and who knows, go from Super Bowl 30 to whatever it is this year. That's exactly what they needed. With him on the hook, the Jets would have been the 2000 Baltimore Ravens of today. So that, yes, I definitely, he would bring what they need for the all around team building. He would have been phenomenal.
Yeah, here's another name. This guy did interview for other jobs, but I don't know if he was going to, like Antonio Pierce of the Las Vegas Raiders.
That's a no.
Yeah, okay. Brian Callahan of the Tennessee Titans. He was the offensive coordinator with the Cincinnati Bengals.
Maybe.
Again, here's another one that I'm not sure rings the bell and would have, but Gerard Mayo of the New England Patriots. It seemed like he was in line to take over that job.
He was, you know what's funny? It's
Okay.
he's like, we're going to guarantee that guy a job. Like he's going to take over from Bill Belichick. Hey, dude, nobody else is knocking on the door, right? You probably didn't have to lock that in. You probably could have
Yeah.
shopped around for a few minutes. This isn't Black Friday after Thanksgiving that is going to be a rush on Mayo, right? So I think they would have been all right to let it go. So, but I'm a no. A
Okay,
hard no.
fair enough. And then there's one last one that is Dave Canales of the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, that in pure fairness, I would say, I don't know. I don't know enough about him. I don't think we've seen enough from Carolina. Carolina's not as bad as people think. They're bad. Don't get me. They're bad. So you walk into that situation, right, and you're going to build the statue of David with a pile of shit. It's going to take a little while to make that flesh out.
Sure. I was about to say,
But
my father caping for the Carolina Panthers did not have on the bingo card. So no, I hear you. I hear you on Panthers. So those are all the people that were hired. But in front of me, I have a list of the top candidates for 2025, which are obviously people that for some reason or another missed out on the gift in 2024, but it would have been available to the Jets to hire on a list. So these are the top guys according to CBS Sports. It's random, but Mike Vrabel of the Tennessee Titans, who's a free agent. I mean, actually, he's
100%
not a
yes.
free agent. He's in
100%
the
yes.
Browns building. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, 100% yes. And very much like Harbaugh, like he would have been the prototypical guy you bring in that's going to build, a Jets identity. Just like I'll use Brett Favre example instead of Aaron Rodgers, right? The Jets mentality, you go back to Rex Ryan, if you will. You go back to when Aaron Rodgers right there. It was exciting to watch the game, but you know, in the end, it was a flash in the pan. So, the long term sustainability, the smash mouth football, the great defense. That's what Vrabel would have brought, and very similar. So yes, absolutely.
There's another name on this list. I'm going to just say it because it's on the list, but there is a negative percent chance that this would ever happen in any universe. It's Bill Belichick. He's not coming here. I don't think the Jets would want him anyway. It just no. Any additional thoughts to that?
Yeah, I would say they would have been better off with him than not having him. It's you know, just like a lot of people forget, you know, he wasn't good back in the day, right? And I am not,
Cleveland,
as
right?
you
Yeah.
well, yeah, I am not, as you well know, the biggest fan of the deflator. That's what I'm gonna call his name, the deflator, right? The cheater. And I'm not talking about Bill Belichick for a minute, the UGG wearer. But anyways, I still think he's one of the best coaches, even without, right? Um, and so I do think that he would have been in that same grouping with Harbaugh, Vrabel, and Belichick. Was re-establishing the Jets' identity as a smash mouth. So yeah, I don't think they will do that, but he would have been a yes.
Yeah.
Because
Bobby Slowick. He is the hot, sexy thing in Houston Texans land as their offensive coordinator.
Maybe.
Okay. Ben Johnson, but as we already described, he said he had unfinished business with the Lions. He went super deep. A lot of people thought he was going to be the Washington Commanders head coach, but he pulled out of all of the offers and said, I've got unfinished business with the Lions. There's more to accomplish here. So, again, I don't know if he really technically he was available, but with those comments make it seem like he was going through due process. And if he was absolutely his socks blown off, maybe he takes it, but it seems like he was leaning towards coming back.
Yeah, I'm going to go with a no, and
Okay.
really because I think the Lions' success uh, is Dan Campbell. Their Lions' success and failure is Dan Campbell, and that he walked into a situation where they have phenomenal talent on the offense, and at some point, you just let the machine run, you watch it, and get patted on the back for the great job you did. So I'm not sure. I'm not sold on that. He's not. He's winning and they're being productive, but I'm not saying that's because of him.
All right, here's the last name on the list. Former Jets head coach. He'd be coming back. Pete Carroll.
I would put him in the maybe, and the only reason I would go maybe is because he's not the coach. And I'm going to this what I've envisioned the mentality, what the Jets should look like,
Okay.
and that's not his kind of teams. I mean, he did have one of the most impressive, toughest, uh, best highlight stiff arm ever with Marshawn Lynch in that weird
Beastquake.
yeah, in that weird game where there was a playoff team that was like 7-9 or whatever they were, and he
That's what they
just
were.
bitch slapped that New Orleans Saints person to the ground. I was working that day, and I happened to walk in the shop, and people are supposed to be out in the field doing something. It was a Sunday, and I'm working, so I'm not happy. I walk in, there's like everybody that's supposed to be working is sitting there watching the football game. So after I got done expressing myself to them, and they all left to go to the field, I watched part of the game.
That's a great
but
story.
anyways, I
Yeah,
got
by the
I
way,
got to see that.
yeah, that game, by the way, and that's what people lost their crap about. The Seahawks won the division, which means you host a playoff game. They're 7-9, and the Saints are the defending Super Bowl champions, like a 12-win team. They had 5 more wins than the Seahawks. Had a cross-country trip to Seattle to play this game. They lose, and everyone was like, "Well, that was bullshit. Seattle should have never hosted. That changed everything." But hey, that's football.
Yeah.
I have no
Yeah.
problem with that.
And the worst part about it is, and what leans me a little bit, would definitely lands in the maybe category, is that he let the New England Patriots have a free Super Bowl win because he didn't have faith in the smash mouth football. Who throws that ball? Who throws the ball at the middle of the field on the goal line in that scenario where you have arguably, and I'm not, it's not a landslide, but arguably one of the best 1 yard guys in the history of football. And there's many others, so I'm not gonna say he's the best because you could, Jim Brown, Earl Campbell. I mean, there's a
Jerome
long
Bettis,
list
sure,
of
yeah.
people, but you have one of the probably the best of the decade, right? Sitting over there, eating Skittles or whatever he's doing. And so so he's a maybe.
And think about how all the legacies change. Russell Wilson's a 2-time Super Bowl champ. We're not saying, oh, the last back-to-back Super Bowl champ was the Patriots. Ironically enough, it would have been Seattle beating the Patriots as being the back-to-back. And then this Chiefs noise we're hearing now would be perceived, I think, differently too. So it's pretty crazy. Anywho, anyone, so that the list is over. Is there any other name you are waiting to hear that you did not?
No name that I'm waiting to hear. I would just like to expand it a little bit, and when I already
Please.
did with one person, and I'll go back to someone who remained nameless, me, was advocating for the advocating for the boosting or ousting or jabooting or the escorting out of the facilities, like in Scrooged. 5 minutes, yes. Elliot Loudermilk is leaving early today. Anyways, I Sean Payton. He would have been somebody I would have advocated.
Oh, a couple years ago you're talking about.
Yeah, that's right. I'm running it back. Right. And hopefully I was a little more successful running it back than Woody Johnson has been lately.
Hey now. By the way, on that Sean Payton thing, you would have had to trade for him and they gave up a first-round pick plus. Is that still something you would have done?
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. And I think they probably could have got him for a second. I mean, if you're in a bidding war, you do what you have to do.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah, I think it was a first or a third, if I remember correctly, was the final package.
You come early, you come often. You get a lot done, right? You push the envelope, and I just don't know. I mean, what has been through the first, and I blame, this is probably, I haven't broken down the 20 years of statistics, but I have broken down enough to tell you that this is one of Aaron Rodgers' worst starts in the history of his career. Again,
It's
I
true.
can't say it is the worst.
It is. It's from the numbers. Yeah, it's one of the worst. Yeah.
Yeah, and people, the point that we talked about that people don't like that they have the same points per game that they had last year with Zach Wilson. Now, before you say anything, some of it defensive specialties, whatever. The fact is the total yards is within the same ballpark of the offense from last year. And so, and to me, even if it was close, right? Even if we're in the neighborhood, and we are in the neighborhood because it is pretty close. I don't have the numbers right in front of me. Right. The fact that you're in the frickin' neighborhood of last year's abysmal offense with this offense is the reason that a lot of us were screaming for Hackett to get the fuck out, right? Because at the end of the day, right, appeasing Aaron Rodgers is not going to help the Jets get better, right? And it's a bitter pill. A little Motley Crue song there for you. One of your mother's favorite bitter pill. But it's a bitter pill to swallow. But Aaron Rodgers is not running the show. And it's clear that Woody made that statement very loud. So that's good. I hope that this, my fear is Ulbrich will come in. There'll be a pop. He wasn't on the list of last year's hot running candidates to be a head coach, right? We have him because that's who was in the building, as opposed to 9 months ago. We could have shopped around like we just talked about.
Well, we'll see what happens because, again, regardless of how Ulbrich does, I believe the Jets are going to do the due diligence of looking around. I don't think they're just going to say, "Yep, Ulbrich, you're the guy." They may allow him to interview again or something of that
Yeah,
nature. But yeah,
I think that number of, you ran out the number of 17 and 50. And I think that's what you said. We were losing power on and off. The Wi-Fi was going in and out. I think
yeah,
you
I
said
believe it's
17
17
and
and 15
15.
since 2010. I have it written down, but I'm pretty sure that's the number I added up. Of those are interim head coaches in their first game first game taking over. And I tried to pick a really good sample size of like 15
That's
years
good.
or something. And yeah, so they have won more than they've lost, no doubt. And I'm pretty sure I added it up to 17 and 15.
So when you were looking at those numbers, what was the number that had been hired?
Oh, well, I have no idea. Of like, did they end up getting hired? I have no idea. I wasn't really looking for that, to be
Yeah.
honest. That'd be a cool nugget to
But
know.
yeah,
But
that'd be
I
a
was
very
just doing it
interesting
for the
stat. I bet you
immediate
it's,
dopamine.
yeah. Yeah. I bet you it's like, so that's 32 based on 17 plus 15, carry the one. I would tell you that it's probably, like 2 and 30, like maybe two, and
Probably.
Antonio Pierce being one of them. It's got to be a pretty low number.
That's probably true.
I wish the Jets could get some offensive help. There was a former, I think he was the offensive coordinator for the Lions, who had the coolest name. I just want him to be on the Jets. Maybe they could just hire him to be the water boy or something. So at least 2 or 3 times a game they say his name. What was his name again?
Jim Bob Cooter. That was
Jim Bob Cooter. Now, if they could hire him for no other reason that you had to say his name, there's Jim Bob Cooter on the sidelines. He's chasing those boys' tails into the game. It could be a lot of fun.
I appreciate that. Well, Papa, thanks for calling into the show, and that was a fun segment there. So I'm looking forward to those conversations. They'll be coming, I'm sure, in a handful of months. So I appreciate the call, Papa. We'll have you back on the show tomorrow for a Hop on Pop episode.
Hop on Pop
Appreciate
episode tomorrow, and a 4-pack coming up next weekend.
Oh, yes. Yeah, we got to tell people about that. That will be coming up. Details to come on what my father is referencing. Pop, enjoy the rest of your Saturday. We'll see you tomorrow.
Coffee Club, have a great day.
All right, peace out. There he is. Everyone else that's waiting on the phone lines, we'll get back to you, but we finally have our guest, baby. It's time to go behind enemy lines to talk all things Buffalo Bills, and we'll get to those phone calls after the conversation. So, guys, if you'd like to hold on tight, or you guys can call back if you'd like. Apologies, but we're going to go to our guest to talk all things Buffalo Bills. He is a handsome podcast host for Cover One, talking all things Bills Mafia. Anthony Prohaska, a.k.a. Ant, joining us here on the show. What's up, brother? Thanks for joining us.
No, thank you for having me. I'm so sorry for it's been a day. Kind of like how it's been like I feel like my Saturday has mimicked what the last 2 weeks have been like for the Bills and maybe this week for the Jets. Just a little bit of chaos, a little bit of you're checking in and then your day is pivoting after you check into the building potentially kind of thing. But I appreciate you having me. I was enjoying you and Pop talking while I was sitting back there in the green room. And it's, I'm excited to talk some Bills and Jets, and suddenly kind of Bills and Jets has always got something extra to it, but it feels like kind of almost like a bit of a pivotal game for both, considering where they both are right now coming into it. So I'm pumped to be here.
Yeah, well, thanks for coming on. We appreciate your flexibility, and let me ask you this, because it came up when we had Sal on the show, Sal Capaccio, WGR 550 Buffalo Bills sideline reporter a couple days ago. But there's the controversy with the Josh Allen concussion thing, and it had since come out. That information wasn't out when we had Sal on the show a couple days ago, but that the NFL, NFLPA, they all did a full investigation, and everything was met and thrown through there. And when I presented that information, still all the commenters that are going crazy right now said, I saw what I saw. Josh Allen was knocked unconscious. So how have you been dealing with it? Has it been annoying to hear the national talking heads going, the Bills blew this, even since reportedly they did not. They did an investigation. It did not happen. How are you guys dealing with all that stuff? Because Josh Allen, regardless of how you feel, I mean, he has ended up on his backside in 2 straight weeks in scary situations.
You know what's funny? When he went down in the game, especially when he went down, my immediate thought was, okay, concussion. And then I immediately was like, all right, well, I hope he can play against the Jets. Like, I just thought he's not coming back. Just with what we see nowadays, I put the concussion into like the category of like a soft tissue injury. Like when earlier in that game, when it was like, oh, Nico Collins is a hamstring, he went back to the locker room. I was like, okay, he's not coming back. Soft muscle, soft tissue, that's not happening. I just assumed we wouldn't see Josh Allen for the rest of the game. Then he puts the helmet back on. He's coming on. I'm like, oh, like, okay, I guess not. And my thought was he cleared everything. And then I started to see more pieces of, it just didn't seem like he went through the normal, like they took him back or just the time of everything for him to get evaluated by the team. And then the independent evaluator that the NFL has there, like kind of going into the tent, not going into the tent. And then it being an ankle injury that he was down with. And I think the optics of it don't look great. We all saw him smack his head. We saw him lay down there on the turf, not grabbing his ankle, but just kind of like holding his face and head potentially as if he had a concussion. It's hard to, with the state of how things are, right? I think it's easy to kind of see what we see with our eyes, but then also we have to try and take the NFL's word at face value. I hate that it's so muddy. I thought he was out and done. And the fact that he came back, I was like, okay. And then the decision making after it, muddying it. I guess I have to take the NFL's word, but to your point, like I know what I saw, and he looked like he got dinged a little bit. Not as bad as what we've seen with like Tua and some other guys, but it looked like we saw him smack his head, and we've seen usually when that happens to guys, regardless of position, they're not coming back in the game at the very least for that week. Like they could come back the next week, but I thought he was done. I'm replaying in my brain right now as I'm speaking to you, and I remember just looking at my buddy, and I was like, oh, he's done. And then my buddy tapped me like 5 minutes later and was like, he's coming back. And I was like, he is? And so, yeah. It's a weird situation.
I'm curious because one of the big things that I think we talked about in the offseason, Anthony, is that, boy, Mitch Moore's losing him. I saw it as like a big loss. I'm like, man, that's a loss no one's talking about in national land. And that to me is the one where I'm like, oh, what's that going to be? So kind of combining the results through the first 5 weeks of the season in that department, it looks like Josh Allen's been getting hit a lot. Is it resulting in like sack numbers that like the offensive line is playing well or is not playing well? Is he holding the ball too long that's putting him in some of these compromising situations where he's taking extra hits? Is it on him? Is it on the line? How would you evaluate it through the first 5 weeks?
It's a multitude of things, and his pressure rate has been increasing week by week. So going from week 1 through 5, against Arizona, it was 20%. Against Miami, it was 30%. Against Jacksonville, it was 23.5. And then against Baltimore, it was 44.1. And against Houston, it was 45.7. So, yeah. Yeah. So as they've started to go along a little bit, teams have started to game up the Bills' protections a little bit. They've started to heat them up a little. It's all one giant thing. So the Bills' run game is extremely integral to how everything moves for their offense and how it sets the table. If they're unable to run the ball or they struggle a little bit, they get into more true drop-back situations or known passing situations. Defenses are really able to go after them and hunt. Now, everybody doesn't have the front that the Ravens have in terms of the hybrid multiplicity or Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson. But teams are able to kind of know that and let the dogs loose and kind of hunt and go after Allen. They're gaming up the Bills' protections a little bit, using their rules against them. And then also within that, the Bills are struggling to pass the ball past 20 yards and also struggling to pass the ball outside the numbers. So outside the numbers and above 20 is almost like shaded out. So defenses are going cover 1 and trusting their guys on the back end. We saw that with
cover
Houston.
1.
Yeah, I know, right?
I saw what you did there. Hey,
thank you.
Hey, what a company man. Okay.
I know, right? You always got to the line. Yeah. So you saw that with Baltimore. You saw that with Houston. Now, again, Baltimore's got some good athletic corners. Houston has Derek Stingley and Kamari Lassiter, who's physical and comfortable in man. but it's a combination of the Bills don't necessarily have the pass catchers threaten outside or vertical. There's an element that's lacking. So defenses are either playing man and restricting the airspace, or playing single high cover 3, crowding the box, crowding in between the numbers, taking away or trying to limit the run game, which has been effective this year, and then also limiting and constricting where Allen can find windows in between the numbers and in the middle, which in particular is a very tough matchup because the Jets love cover 1 and the Jets love cover 3, and they have 2 extremely good corners on the outside, and Michael Carter's a really good slot corner too, and then you have Quinn Williams up front. So it's a combination of all these things, and then Allen's trying to go deep, but he doesn't have anybody open, so he's holding the ball longer. His time to throw is increasing with each week, so the pressure is a result of it's one little piece of a larger giant conversation, but it all speaks to a lot of the Bills' offensive struggles we've seen the past couple of weeks that tie into the weapons for this offense are very schematic dependent. Like if you push the right buttons and pull the right levers, it can really work for you, like we saw in the first 3 weeks. But once that tape starts to come out and the sample size is there, if you're not pulling those levers at the right time or in the right way or doing the same thing with the buttons, you don't have a lot of guys on the offense that can just go get you a bucket. There is no Garrett Wilson for the Bills where it's like, I know he can win. At the end of the day, I'm just going to go to him, like Josh Allen used to have with Diggs. So the scheme has been a little off. The individual execution has been a little off. Allen has been a little off. The protection's been a little off. The separation isn't there. It's all a whole bunch of little pieces that add up to kind of fill up the bucket a little bit.
Josh Allen has 8 touchdowns and no picks so far this season. I'm curious, has he gotten, as someone who watches every snap of these Buffalo Bills games, has he gotten away with if you were like, whoo, that should have been a pick, or that should have been a pick? Or has he just been much better of not putting the ball in harm's way? And then like an additional layer to that, is he due? Because the last time Josh Allen visited MetLife Stadium land, he was in the giving mood, which we can appreciate during the holiday seasons with the 4 interceptions. So we'd be open to that again if he's willing to be in that department. But yeah, throughout your observations this season, has he just been lucky, or has he just been better?
I think he's been better early on, but a lot of it too is where he's putting the ball. A lot of his passes have come in the underneath and the intermediate. He's not really putting the ball in harm's way, which comes to the decision making, but also just where the offense is going and where he's putting the ball. There was, I believe, it's driving me nuts because they were both wearing black uniforms and escaping me. He probably could have had an interception against Baltimore and against Houston.
Yeah, Nate Wiggins. Oh yeah, I remember it
the
now.
Nate Wiggins.
Yes.
Thank you. I was like, well, it's got to be the Ravens because the Texans don't wear black, and I'm like, no, their new stupid uniforms are also black.
Oh right, that's true.
And then he had a little bit of a precarious throw against the Houston game, but a lot of that was just incompletions. He's just the nature of where he's working in the field. It's kind of limited him a little bit. I do think he's due, 1, just because his nature and how he plays. 2, the offense starting to struggle a little bit. And usually when things in the past have gotten slow for the offense, whether in game or from game to game, it's only kind of a matter of time before Josh feels like, all right, I need to make things happen. And that's when you get him hurdling linebackers and stiff arming defenders, and also trying to, throw the ball to Jordan Whitehead 3 different times for 3 different interceptions. So it's kind of like the risk reward yin and yang of him. And then that combined with how defenses are playing him, crowding the area where he can potentially go and where the Bills operate, I could see it happening, especially against the Jets, right? Like I know Bryce Huff isn't there and Jonathan Franklin Myers isn't there and Hassan Reddick was supposed to help, but he's out cosplaying in Japan or whatever the hell he's doing. Quinn Williams is still a monster. If they blitz in game, so if you blitz and just go cover 1 man coverage, you want to play CJ Mosley or whoever is that low hole linebacker and just use Quincy Williams to be the heat-seeking missile that he is and let him and Quinnen wreck shop up front, combined with the corners on the back end, I could see him throwing an interception in this game, either just because of the restricted airspace from the man coverage or just going single high cover 3, flooding things with bodies, some pressure getting home, him trying to think of him having to do it himself. All of it is kind of, it's snowballing a little bit. And I feel like the pressure is rising and eventually it's going to pop for an interception or 2.
Yeah, man, but it has been interesting that we've gone through this chunk of a season without seeing a pick from Josh Allen because he's been labeled in that category of being this Brett Favrean level gunslinger, and it's
Yeah.
cool to see some of the positive pop without the negative stuff
Yeah.
so far. I'm curious on the rivalry that exists here
Mm.
because I'm going to be honest, I never, and this might come off insulting to a Bills person, but when you guys were in the 17-year playoff drought, I'm like, look. We're both
We're the
both in
same.
the trenches together. Yeah, we're the same. It's a Spider-Man meme. We got a unified foe, the New England Patriots. Before every year, I had a Bills friend, a Dolphins friend, and myself, and we put our hands in the middle and say, one of us has to do it this year. And we did that like every year for like a cajillion years as the Patriots were smacking us all around. So it used to be the same. And then the Bills found all this wonderful success, a young quarterback that has blossomed and developed, and you guys won the division 4 years in a row. Now I'm like, hey, Bills, we're the same. And then when I talk to Bills, they're like, not the same, peasant. We've won the division 4 years in a row. Get off, kiss my feet and get out of my way. I'm like, whoa, okay. And then the Deion Dawkins stuff, where this fat bastard is plumping around, and then the Michael Clemens thing and everything. So there just feels like there's a lot more heat, as we say in the wrestling business, which, by the way, is great for business. It's sexy. It's a lot of fun. But, man, it feels like there's some palpable heat. Like, these guys hate each other, which is good for the NFL and good for business. Are you picking up those same vibes?
Yeah, I think you talk about what Dawkins said. I think that was kind of interesting. Not just so much what he said, but we don't really see a lot of like I know Marshawn Lattimore and Mike Evans hate each other. But I don't know how much hate there is between players or teams. I know it's not. We've seen it in the NBA for a while now, but the NFL is like that too. And you hear during games, oh yeah, these four guys all train with each other in the offseason, or these guys do this. And so the game ends and everybody's dapping up and hugging and having a good time at midfield type of stuff. And you don't see that kind of hatred that existed necessarily anymore. I do think with the Jets kind of being somewhat more than they have in the past. I feel like a lot of it the past couple of years with the Bills kind of on the rise has coincided with the Jets not being taken seriously because of not having a quarterback. And I think anytime there's the lack of seriousness potentially on the other side in terms of a real threat, you don't get that feel of even the Patriots probably to the Jets, Dolphins, and Bills during their whole run were like, none of you guys are rivals. Maybe the Jets because they would get a couple wins here and there and be the foil every now and again. But they were like, no, we beat you guys all the time. We run this division. You're not a rival. Yeah, get out of here kind of stuff. But I do think there is some semblance of that. I think if the Jets win this game, it becomes that much more real because now it would be the third straight loss at MetLife.
Correct.
And then, new coach. Is Rodgers starting to turn the corner? What do we look like here? Everybody's sitting, close to each other at the top of the division. How do things go from here? I think that changes the temperature of things a little bit with the players and teams, and then especially with the fan base. I know there's a lot of Bills fan arrogance for the last couple of years, and if the Bills win, that arrogance will continue. And I'm sure if the Jets win this game, all the Jets fans will have no problem kind of vocalizing that they are ready to take the AFC East and that the Bills are nothing and they are on the downturn once again.
It should be juicy. Shout out. Here we got FF Floor Lily joining the Boy Green Coffee Club. Blessed be he, baby. We love it. Thank you for joining. And by the way, throw it up here. We got 203 members away from NY Jets FL getting his emoji. So thanks, everybody, for the support and rocking here on Boy Green Daily. Again, we have Anthony Prohaska joining us, talking all things Buffalo Bills here on the program. Let's get into the injury report. And boy, there appears to be, from this Jet side, looking over the fence, some very concerning things I see on the Buffalo Bills injury report. What can you give us on the latest there? Because it looks like there's stuff on offense, there's stuff on defense. It's been a battle of attrition. We're only 5 weeks through the season.
Yeah, it's tough. The every time the injury report comes out, I think of Chris Jericho and WCW, reading out all his holds on the parchment with armbar and everything. And armbar. And that's just what it is. You want to see exactly. The injury report, you just roll out the huge thing of parchment.
Keeps going. Yeah.
It was so good. Yeah. And then they came back from commercial break and he was still doing it. It was such a good bit, such a good spot. But that's essentially what it is for the Bills at this point. Now, a lot of these guys that you're seeing are going to end up playing. Allen is listed because of his hand and his ankle. He's going to play. Terrell Bernard still listed because of his pec. He returned against the Texans, played much better than I thought he would. He's still not 100%. And it looked like he still had a brace and a harness that was blending in with his black arm sleeve, but he played. I was just expecting more limited mobility or more kind of self-protection. And he was out there, had a great interception. He's kamikazing against like offensive linemen and throwing himself through. So he's on the injury report, but he's going to play. And then everything else, it gets a little scary. Mac Hollins was limited. Austin Johnson was limited. Taron Johnson was limited as well. He's coming back from that cracked forearm that he suffered against the Cardinals in week 1. He's integral to the Bills defense. The 3 most important players for the Bills defense were Taron Johnson, Matt Milano, and Terrell Bernard. And they played the majority of the year without all 3 of them, the heavy majority without 2. So there's, a couple guys in there. I'll throw Curtis Samuel in there as well, who's had the toe since preseason. He's been playing. You can tell he's not healthy. He's not getting a ton of snaps. When he's out there, you're not seeing the stop-start ability and the juice, which is hard. I mean, you've got turf toe. The only way to let it heal is to not play. And it doesn't look like they're going to do that. So I expect to see him continue to kind of be a limited, banged-up version of himself. And then a lot of everyone else we got full practices from on Friday. So there's a hefty, long list. I wouldn't expect Taron Johnson to play. I don't think Austin Johnson's going to play. Mac Hollins is in doubt. Ed Oliver didn't practice again Thursday or Friday, so I don't expect him to be there. The interior defensive line's hurting a little bit, but they should be able to kind of patchwork it together like they did against Houston.
What about these two? You may have said those, and I'm an idiot and didn't hear them, but just in case. James Cook, Khalil Shakir, where are they at?
Oh, good call. So, James Cook didn't practice Thursday or Friday with the toe injury. I don't think he's going to be in there just with it being a Monday game, maybe Saturday and Sunday and Monday day do enough. Sure. But usually, I think you would echo this as well. Usually when you see guys like with DNPs on Thursday and Friday, it's tough for them to suit up. And especially because it happened coming out of the Texans game and into this week, it's not like it's something he's been managing. It's a newer injury. I expect him to not play. Also, you're not an idiot. I did not say these two, so well done. I wouldn't expect Cook to play, and I wouldn't expect Khalil Shakir to play either. He also had DNPs for Thursday and Friday. He didn't play against Houston. That's a big blow because when the offense has been at its most successful, and part of the reason they find success in between the numbers and over the middle and out of the slot, it's been Khalil Shakir just getting open, knowing how to leverage space, but also his yards after catch and how he functions like a running back once he gets the ball in his hands. I wouldn't expect him to play. I don't expect Cook to play. If they do, I don't think they're going to be 100%. So from a running back perspective, I'm expecting a Ty Johnson, former Jet Ty Johnson, and Ray Davis kind of workload. And then from the receiver perspective, kind of a bit what we saw against Houston, but maybe even a little more strapped if Mac Hollins is also unable to go.
Ty Johnson revenge game. The storyline we all had circled here for the Week 6 Monday Night
That's
Football
the one that
game.
drives this game is the Ty Johnson revenge game.
That's it. Joe Buck and Troy Aikman somewhere are doing fist pumps about that. So we can only appreciate delivering that storyline to him. I am curious because these are some of the numbers me and Sal were getting into. So shout out to you guys. Cover one. You had this stat, and that intrigued me. So I wanted to double check the Jet stat from it. The Bills have faced man coverage more than any team in football this season. I think it's somewhere the 34+% amount of the time. The Jets predominantly, historically, have been a zone-based defense, but this season they made a decision in week 1, or obviously before that, they've been running man somewhere in the ballpark of 54% of the time, which is the 3rd highest in football. So they have just flipped a philosophical difference this season. I'm curious, if Shakir's not available, who is the mover and shaker that is creating the separation on a consistent basis that's going to give the Jets problems? Because, of course, if we got man, that means Josh Allen. If he breaks initial contain, a lot of guys are looking the other direction. And I can't remember. Oh, that was the Seattle game that I was remembering where a receiver, I think it was Jackson Smith and Jigba. It was man coverage. and he pretended like he was getting the ball deep, and he just kept doing this. And
Oh,
then
against the Giants this past week when Geno scrambled. Yeah.
Are going, oh, geez. And Geno's still running. He was getting like a bunch of rushing yards, which I thought was hilarious.
Yeah.
But going back to like Josh Allen, I imagine that's the benefit of facing all this man. You get those opportunities rushing. Has Josh been taking advantage of those, playing against man that often? And again, who is the mover shaker if Shakir's unavailable for those situations?
Sure. So starting with the Allen piece, that's very well said. That's always been the worry of playing man against the Bills because of Allen. But whether it's his hand being dinged up or maybe kind of just mentality and some schematic things, which I'm going to talk about, he hasn't really been taking off too much and kind of making teams pay with his legs from a scrambling perspective, even from a design standpoint a little as well. He's been, making plays off script, but it's more, evade, escape out the front door, chuck it downfield, make a play that way. What teams, especially the past 2 weeks, and the past 2 weeks, again, we're only 5 weeks in, small sample size of the last two. The first 3 weeks, I think, were interesting for this Bills team because of the game script in general. Arizona, 1, it's week 1. 2, Arizona doesn't have the best defense. The Bills offense did well in that week. But against Miami and against Jacksonville, both of those game scripts allowed the Bills offense to kind of coast for a majority of the game. We didn't see too much intensity. Then they have real games against Baltimore and Houston, struggle a bit, and also are playing better defenses. What you're seeing with the man coverage, Baltimore did it and Houston did the same thing. Get the man coverage, and then you take an athletic second-level player, and you have them almost kind of muddle rush or aggressive spy Josh Allen around the line of scrimmage. Houston got creative with Al-Shaair. Like, they'd send him just to occupy the center, and then he'd drop off, but he'd sit like 1 or 2 yards past the line of scrimmage, and he's just waiting for Allen to declare. And when Allen would do that, he's closing down in an instant. We saw Baltimore do that. Kyle Hamilton, Roquan, Trenton Simpson. They're dropping, again, they have a bunch of crazy dudes on that defense. They're dropping Metabike from defensive tackle as like a low hole player and kind of spy. They had one where they dropped 8 and they had Metabike. They're playing man behind it, like almost like basically a cover 0 look behind it. And underneath, it's Metabike, Roquan, and Kyle Hamilton taking away hot stuff. But then when Allen runs, all 3 take off after him. It was just like so creative. But I am mimicking that if I am the Jets. Like I'm relying on Sauce and Reed and Carter. I don't think the Bills can separate from a receiver position consistently against either of them. Your best hope is Keon Coleman can play some bully ball and win some contested catches. Probably more against like Reed. I just think I know Sauce gets knocked by a lot of Bills fans and he grabs and yada yada. Sauce is extremely good. His length is a problem. And he's physical as well. So I'm playing man if I'm the Jets, especially on third downs, which they've done historically under Saleh and Ulbrich by extension. And then I am taking whichever linebacker you want, but I kind of like the idea of Quincy Williams just hanging around, lurking around that line of scrimmage. And I'm telling him, hey, as soon as Allen steps one way, see ball, get ball. And you're just mimicking what the Texans did, a little bit of what Baltimore did. You can let Quinnen Williams wreck shop in front of him and then let his brother, clean up behind him. And then from a true separator perspective, like you asked, it's really Dalton Kincaid, but Kincaid hasn't been on point this year. A couple drops.
Why has he even been?
A couple drops against Houston. I don't know if he's hurt. He doesn't look like, and this is pure speculation.
Sure. Yeah,
he just doesn't look like he has, or like he did last year. When he moves, he's a very good combination of technicality and athleticism. I always say he's got technical fluidity. It's smooth, but it's precise. He's an efficient mover, but it's calm, it's controlled. It's very like aesthetically pleasing. And we just haven't seen him move necessarily in that way. The blocking has been a little off for him this year. He had 2 drops against Houston, both hit him right in the mitts, which is super uncharacteristic of him. He's got tremendous hands in contested catch situations, but especially open situations like he was. And teams are also kind of game planning for him a little bit more, either just, bracketing him by intention or because they're putting more bodies into the box and in between the numbers, which is where he's operating. He's got more bodies and more traffic around him by extension. He's the best with Shakir being hurt. Kincaid's the best pure separator that they have, but it's still not ideal. And without him, you're not getting Matt Collins isn't a separator. Keon Coleman is a separator at the catch point with some physicality and contested catch pieces, but still not necessarily a separator. And then Samuel's dinged up. The rest of the wide receivers are questionable. Dawson Knox is not a separator at the tight end spot. So that's been a big issue for them, is finding consistent, true separators or early decisive separators like they had throughout Allen's tenure with Beasley and Diggs and so on and so forth. But they don't have that right now. And again, facing the Jets, even if you had good separators, it's still going to be tough to separate against them based on who they have on the back end. So I anticipate that kind of happen again. And you spy Allen, and kind of hope for the best with it on the back end.
Yeah, the Bills are probably going to benefit, unfortunately, because of this injury. It looks like MC2, in my estimation, is unlikely to play.
Okay.
He initially had an ankle in the offseason. Then he had this hamstring injury, and then this hamstring, some level of overcompensation has led to a back. And it's going off rails, which will probably be some Isaiah Oliver action, who's played all over the defensive backfield at safety, corner, and everything else throughout his career. So he's probably going to be in there instead. But I will tell you on Kincaid, I'm a big fantasy football guy. And I just, for whatever reason, I don't know how it hits me. Lightning strikes me. I don't know. I just get takes. I'm hearing fantasy football shows. I still got like 3 fantasy football magazines in front of me. I just read enough, and then just things happen in my head. I'm like, oh, yep, this is going to happen. And one of those this is going to happen things, this player I'm in love with, and I'm going to find a way to try to get him in fantasy draft, was Dalton Kincaid. I said, damn, with no Stephon Diggs, this guy's going to be the number 1 wide receiver. He's going to catch 100 balls. He's going to have 1,200 plus yards. He's going to have double-digit touchdowns. Like, boom, it is going to happen. Now, whatever the gods allowed, I never got Dalton Kincaid in any of those leagues because someone drafted him just ahead of me. I'm like, son of a. And then now I'm looking at it like, okay, not too shabby. But
glad I got
that's the thing. Yeah, that's right. But I'm going to be honest, that's the thing that has surprised me so much. I thought for sure with no Diggs, he would be the number 1 receiver. Now, talk about that number 1 receiver conversation real quick. I'm curious. Again, let me just make this clear. If my name was Boy Blue and me and you are part of the Cover One Network and we just did a Buffalo Bill show every week, if the Bills, I say we, yeah, that was disgusting. If the Bills traded away Stephon Diggs, I would have been screaming from the rooftops. Everybody eats, baby, because I'm an optimistic guy. I'm glass half full. I always say anytime someone's like, oh, Robert Saleh's fired, an interim head coach has never won it. Won a Super Bowl. I'm like, so we're due. The Jets are going to do it. And they're like, how in God? Exactly, right. And people go, how in God's green earth do you always do that with everything? So I have no idea. Blame my parents, I guess, or the genes or whatever's in there. But if I was a Bills fan and that happened, the thing I would have immediately said is what I heard Bills people say: everybody eats. There's not one guy that it could be anybody. It's Josh Allen's a magician. One day it could be, oh, it's him. Oh, now it's him. Oh, you can't stop him. It's a whack-a-mole. You're like, son of a, it's one of over here. And again, I would have been saying that if I was in Buffalo Bills land. Now that we're 5 weeks through the season, we're heading into week 6. Is it still everybody eats, or are the Bills going, damn, I remember when we had the one guy, and then because of the one guy overcompensation, other guys had more advantageous opportunities because of the one guy. Do Bills fans yearn for the days when they had a guy, whether it's Stephon Diggs or some other name, go Stevie Johnson, whoever your name is, Andre Reed, wherever you got to go. Do they yearn for those days?
You're starting to see it a little more now from the fan base. I think you're seeing that conversation piece, or at least I'm seeing in a lot of my comments now of, because we don't have any good receivers and we should have invested in receiver and should have invested in receiver. And I think to your point, and kind of even through the lens that you would look at it, I think that's how a lot of fans look at it. I was pretty vocal all offseason, and Brandon Beane even said it himself, right? Like, he was like, we're not a better on the field team without Stephon Diggs. Like, that's ridiculous. You could still mitigate that, right? You can still be okay. But again, a lot of it's going to come from scheme and structure and designing these guys open, which was what we saw a lot the first 3 weeks. It was everybody was eating, 5 targets for you, 3 targets for you, 4 for you, and then a whole bunch of guys with 2 targets, and then a good run game. I think Diggs going and the body types that they brought in, it was very much to move in a direction of condensed formations, run the football, 6 offensive lineman sets, heavier personnel, putting defenses into a bind in terms of nickel and 2 high structures. But now they found themselves kind of getting those teams out of 2 high, struggling against single high, and then there's a cascade effect from a negative perspective of how it's impacting the run and impacting the pass. I do think there is some yearning, maybe not necessarily for Stephon Diggs for the fans, but for more of a true number 1. You're getting a lot of outcries for, every time there's anything about Devontae Adams, oh, go get Devontae Adams, go get Amari Cooper. And it's a little funny to me. I don't take pleasure in anyone's like kind of misfortune or being upset at things. It's a huge reason I'm never like, I will never troll any other fan base or talk smack to another fan. Like, I just think there's no reason for it. But although I understand the nature and reason of it, but so many people were yelling at me throughout the offseason to be like, you're too concerned about Diggs. Everything's going to be great. Everybody is going to eat. They should put it on t-shirts. You're never going to have everybody. The defense's heads are going to be spinning. And now we're sitting here. And after people wanted to, call Joe Brady a golden god the first 3 weeks, now they're ready to like torch his house and treat him like the beginning of Shrek with torches and pitchforks and go round him up from the swamp. It's just the pendulum swing of emotion has been intense. And I think within that, just 2 weeks ago, oh, we didn't need Stephon Diggs. We never needed Stephon Diggs. Brady is a golden god. Allen is amazing. Switch to 2 weeks or 3 weeks later now, and it's these receivers are terrible. There's no separation. They need a true one. So if the Bills come out and hang 35 on the Jets this week, no one's going to care again. Everybody's going to be like, see, it's all good. If Kincaid has, 8 catches for 90 yards and a touchdown, everybody will be like, see, there's the number one option that should have been there. But I do think fans have kind of opened up to a little bit more of the reality of what a post-Stephon Diggs or post-true number one option looks like. Because you can still have everybody eat when you have a number one. That number one just draws some gravity towards them and you can find other guys. So yeah, I think fans have kind of come around more to the idea of like, maybe it's a little harder and maybe it's not as easy to scheme everybody open all the time, especially when you play better defenses with better athletes and good secondaries.
So let me ask you, Anthony, I'm curious for your prediction for this Jets-Bills game on Monday Night Football, because here's been my vibe, and you could tell me whether you feel differently. In Jets land, we're talking about this like AFC supremacy is on the line, as it is, first place, and like, it's do or die, baby. This is it. All our chips are in the middle of the table. Winning this game, we're in first place. Take a picture, baby, because that's where we're going to be at the end. And the vibe I've gotten from Bills fans, again, doing radio around here and being around all these Bills fans, are like, dude, it's week 6. If we win, whatever, we're in first place. We were in first place. If we lose, whatever, dude, look, it's week 6. It's about to be week 7. The last time I checked, there's 18 weeks in the NFL regular season. Like, blow me, pal. It doesn't matter. That's been the vibe for Bills fans. Like, seemingly like, who cares?
Yeah.
Like, we win, we lose, whatever. Like the Dolphins thing last year, as I heard Sal Capaccio point out, right? They had a 3-game lead with 5 games to go, and somehow the Bills won. Dolphins, you idiots. But, so is that the vibe you guys are having where it's pish posh? Because like at the beginning of the interview, when you said, oh boy, or, the beginning of our chat where you were like, hey man, like this is a pivotal game. And I went, okay, it's about time I hear another Bills person say that, for goodness sake.
I do think it is for me, I think it is a pivotal game. I recognize that it's still early October. It is week 6. There's a lot of season left. I think it's a pivotal game because it's another, at least from one side of the ball, it's another good defense you're playing who can mimic the blueprint that you struggled with the past 2 games offensively. I think it's a pivotal game because I could see a world where I'm not going to do an exact score prediction because I'm far too superstitious for that. But
all right.
I could see a world where if the Bills win this game, it's like 13-10 or it's like 17-14. And I think it's going to be a slog for the Bills offense regardless. But if they lose and the offense only puts up 10 or 13, or we have another, I think it's pivotal because of the conversation Bills fans and the team has to start to have about themselves with who they are this year, what the direction of this team is in 2024 and beyond. I think it's pivotal because the Jets are very much like, I think fans realize, we got Aaron Rodgers. He's not our 10-year quarterback. We're trying to do something these next couple of years. Let's kind of, we're all in on everything. The Bills still feel like, no, the window's never closing as long as we have Josh Allen. This year can still be the year. I think that window starts to look a little different if you get beat the hell by the Jets or your offense continues to struggle like it has a little bit. And I think a lot of it's only week 6 conversation comes from a little bit of the fan arrogance, like we talked about. When you've won the division for all these years, you're like, no, we're still on top. Everybody has to go through us. We'll only be tied. We'll be fine, yada, yada. And then factoring into that, the last 2 years or the past couple of years, losing to Miami early in the year and then still finding a way to claw back and get the division the past couple of years, I think it makes them feel like, no, we've we've gone down to the wire and haven't clinched the division until week 16, 17, 18 type of deal. And I also think some of that too is a little bit of projection. You're not going to let the opponent know, like, no, this is kind of like a big deal. I know we're telling everybody it's not, but like if we lose, oh crap, like that's kind of not good. So I think it's a lot of tied in some posturing, a little bit of arrogance, but also some logistics of, again, if it is only week 6, the Bills could lose this game 49-3. The Jets could lose this game 49-3 and be 2-4. Who's to say the Jets don't go on like an 11-game win streak after that? Or the Bills win, the Bills house the Jets. The Bills might lose the next 5 games after that. There's still so much to happen. But I do think from a Jets perspective, it makes sense. This is pivotal. If you're pivotal, I should say, you fire your head coach, and then if you beat the Bills, you're tied atop the division, but you're ahead because of the head-to-head advantage. Things are starting to turn a little bit for you, maybe potentially. At the same time, things are kind of turning negatively, maybe for the Bills. I think it's going to be a very tight game, mainly because I just don't know what to expect from the Bills off defense versus the Jets offense. Bills defense has been banged up, given some opportunities on the ground a little bit. Jets haven't looked the best on offense. I'm still waiting for that Aaron Rodgers game to be like, oh, this is the guy we traded for and paid that money for to be here in New York. The Bills' corners are really good on the outside, but I think Garrett Wilson can get them a little bit, but the rest of the weapons aren't really too intimidating. Overall, I think it provides for a very tough game, similar to kind of what we saw last year. Whoever wins this, I think it's close. Like I'm like a three points tops. Maybe somebody turns the ball over at the end for a pick 6 and that kind of skews it. I don't really think either team goes. I don't think either team maybe goes like over 20. Like I'm thinking 2017, 2013, maybe 21-10, something like that. I see it being a tightly contested game. Not a lot of fireworks. I don't think a lot of the national audience is going to like a close defensive battle on Monday night, but that I think it's going to be a slog for both sides. And I'm saying that it's probably going to end up being like 42, like 39 or some ridiculous shootout that I was like, okay, never mind.
I love because we do for my radio show, Syracuse football is something we cover here locally, and we'll have the voice of the team, normally whoever the team's playing this week. So like Syracuse playing NC State in the Saturday night football game tonight. We had the NC State voice on it, and that's normally a question each week. Oh man, how do you prognosticate this game is going to go? High scoring, low scoring, this or that. Every once in a while we'll get, oh no, clearly this is going to be 6-3, a defensive slugfest of 1943, and then we get 56-50. Yep. And I just love that because, like, even the most as close to the team as you could get, anything can happen, which makes it a lot of fun. So yeah, I'm intrigued. I'm interested about what's going to happen here. There's so much mystery of an interim head coach. What does that spark? New play caller in the middle of a season. What is that going to mean possibly for this? But a captivating conversation. I will say this. One of our longtime listeners of the show, FL Phil 98, said, Boy Green, this has been one of the best segments I've ever heard or seen on your show. And I agree, Anthony. I love having you on the show. I think you bring depth. It's cool to hear your insights so we can joke around and have a lot of fun. And I don't know, they're just super engaging commentary. And by the way, I saw this offseason. Mina Kimes, buddy?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
I was
flex on him. Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, I had her. I tweeted at her. She was talking, her and Dan Orlovsky were like talking Bills on ESPN, and they had spoken about something that I had spoken about like a month prior. And so I just tweeted at her for the hell of it, like saying something. And I don't do that ever because I think it's cringy. And then also, like, if they don't respond, it just looks terrible. It's just like, it's like asking somebody to dance and they just walk right by you and you're like, oh, but you're doing it like in a public forum. Yeah, it's just so bad. But I didn't kind of just let it, rock. I was like, whatever happens, happens. And it got picked up by a couple people. And then some people tagged some people who she had worked with, like Taylor Kyles, who's a beat reporter for the Pats.
Our boy. Yeah, love Taylor.
He's awesome. I love that he's a beat reporter who's great on the beat, but he knows ball. Like he watches tape, he breaks it down, he knows actual football, which is great. So he kind of co-signed me a bit, and then Nate Tice co-signed me a little bit as well, which was super cool. Yeah, I was super blessed to have her. It was an awesome conversation. It was one of the coolest things ever. I'm a huge fan of hers. I know some people aren't. I think she does great work, and it was super cool. Yeah, thank you for mentioning that. And yeah, that was super cool to pull up that comment. I always
Yeah.
enjoy talking with you. I was so sorry I was late this morning.
Oh.
And you've always been so gracious having me on here and then on the radio spots with you guys. I value our relationship and the
Yes.
collaborations that we have. And yeah, I enjoy talking ball with you every time. It's fun. I like the energy. I like that it's fun to be able to talk the actual ball, but then have some lightheartedness to it. Like I enjoy seeing the chat just like lighten up with everything they're saying. Some people are like, no, the Bills are good. And then I see some trash Allen comments and how Dalton Kincaid is mid. Like, I just love it. I'm down for the chaos. It's a good time.
Yeah. This is great. So as FL Phil 98, see, you had Mina Kimes on your show, and we had our version of Mina Kimes. We had Anthony Prohaska here on the show for Pete's sake. Absolutely legendary. Great to have Anthony here on the show. So, man, thanks for popping on. We appreciate it. And like I said, I'm really looking forward to the game, and we'll, of course, have to circle back around. This is the second circle. Wait. Yeah,
No,
when's in Buffalo? Yeah, well,
I don't know off the top of my head, but that will be happening.
Okay.
We do have the second go around.
Oh my goodness, yeah. I had flashbacks to week 1 hosting. I was like, wow, we played the Buffalo Bills twice on Monday Night Football. I'm like, good Lord, no, here it is.
What's funny is I was thinking that too. I was like, oh, they already lost to the Jets already. And then I was like, no, that's last year. Yeah, I was like, my brain is mush.
Yes. Yeah, there it is. It's a 1:00 game. It's December 29th. Yeah, I just had a brain lapse for a second of like, whoa, what's happened? Oh yeah, we will get another chance to conversate. So I'm very much looking forward to that, Anthony. So like I said, actually, let me try to throw in one question here.
Sure,
Danny in real life, he's a diehard Buffalo Bills fan that loves giving me shit. I know him in real life as well, so he loves doing that. But he was giving a shout out earlier. Hey, Ann, how do you believe Curtis Samuel will be utilized this week? Will Bills go back to a quick passing game like they were the first 3 games of the season? What are your thoughts?
Oh, good question from Danny. It's tough just because of I don't know where he is from a health perspective. Like he just doesn't look healthy with how he's moving. I think I would like him to be utilized as more in a field stretching element. And there have been some opportunities with that a little bit. It's not getting talked about a ton because everybody's just talking about him being used in the backfield and underneath. He's had some opportunities on some deep overs. Allen just is getting pressured and having to move away from that look, and he hasn't been able to get him the ball. But I expect kind of to see similar results from Samuel that we've seen the past couple of weeks. But with the injury news to Carter, if you can get Samuel in the slot, or especially with the injury piece to Cook, I know this might upset some Bills fans. I would look for more Curtis Samuel work out of the backfield. And I'm trying to get Curtis Samuel lined up in a pass catching role against Williams, against Mosley, against whoever's playing at the second level. Like, I don't care. I'll take Samuel against them every day of the week just because the wide receiver versus a linebacker or a second level player. So I look for more. I don't know if he's going to have this huge, 8 catches, 100+ yards, but I could see him having like 7 catches for 49 yards, or maybe he breaks a tackle and it's 7 for 60. I would like to see him in that role. I think Brady would also tie into that just because I actually like Ty Johnson and I like Ray Davis. Neither of them are the pass catching back that Cook is, but Samuel can be that and a little more, again, depending on how healthy he is. So I would look to see how he's used underneath to kind of fill the James Cook pass catching role, which has been very important for the Bills this year. And then as far as will the Bills go back to quick passing game like they did for the first 3 games, I tell you, it's going to be, I think they're going to, but it's going to be hard to find success there unless they can start to threaten defenses vertically and outside, which we have not seen. So part of the reason why the quick passing game was working early, one, the scheme and structure was on point. The Jags would give them mesh, or the Dolphins were giving them man cover, or the Jags or Dolphins would give them man coverage. The Bills are just running mesh. Guys are wide open. Everything's fantastic. Defenses are adjusting a little bit, closing that airspace like we talked about. It's going to get harder and harder to have success in the quick passing game if your offense is just the quick passing game. And that's the problem with this offense. They got to get some semblance of verticality or explosives. I think it's really going to come from play action more so than just a standard, hey, we're going to spread it out and kind of gash teams a little bit. I think they're still going to be a quick passing team. I think they're still going to be like, and when I say quick passing, not necessarily timing, I mean like underneath, like anything 10 yards and under in the 5 to 7 range, kind of keeping low intermediate to high underneath at most. And I think that's where they're living right now because they don't have verticality. I don't think teams respect them on the outside or deep in one-on-one situations. And again, you're facing the Jets, who are really good from a coverage perspective, and in order to kind of push the ball downfield, your pass protection needs to hold up a little longer so those routes can develop. It's hard to hold up in pass protection long enough when you're playing Quinnen Williams and some of the dudes that can hunt up front like that a little bit. So that'll factor in. I do think Allen kind of lives in the short and low intermediate again this week, and I think we'll see more of that, but it's going to be tough each week. They need to push the ball vertical. They need to start to get some space and some relieve some pressure of defenses kind of constricting week by week by week.
Anthony, before we get you out of here, give us some plugs, because I've thoroughly enjoyed doing this on my side throughout the week, and I do it each week, is whoever the Jets are playing, I love absorbing content from the other side. I love kind of seeing what their own self-reflection of their team, and that's been fascinating to see. I've seen some of the Sal, Matt Beauvais, their Game Day podcast. It's like, oh, interesting. So some of their own what they believe are problems with the Bills. It's like, I didn't see it that way. Interesting. Okay, so that's been a lot of fun. So give us the plugs. What shows do you guys have coming out for Cover One and for yourself?
Awesome. So just in general, Twitter, you can find me at pro__ant, pro 2 underscores ANT. Obviously, I do a lot of Bills stuff, but I do a lot of NFL things in general. This week has been, this morning was a microcosm of my week. Everything went sideways for me this week. So usually early week and midweek, I'm breaking down tape and doing a lot of stuff on the Bills from the previous game, their upcoming opponent. But I also just do a lot of stuff NFL-wide in general. I've been doing a ton of Vikings stuff this year just because I like what their defense is doing. So you get Bills content, but a lot of NFL content. Everything for me is scheme and structure, X's and O's, and some advanced metrics to kind of put the picture together. So I do that on Twitter, and I also do that on my shows. I host 2 of them. One is me by myself with varying guests every Tuesday, 9 p.m. Eastern, live on YouTube and on podcasting apps and platforms after. That's called Disguised Coverage. And then every Wednesday, I do the Cover One Film Room with Eric Turner. That show is purely film-based with some advanced metrics, breaking down the previous week's game and some opponents and stuff like that. So everything for me is, it's always tape and metrics and, trying to show everybody what's going on, the hows and whys behind both the good and the bad. And that's me.
Well, that's terrific. Well, no disguised coverage here, Anthony. You're a spectacular guest on this program as far as I'm concerned, and we're going to have to link back up in a couple of months, as it appears, for Jets-Bills, the rematch. I'm looking forward to it. Enjoy the game on Monday, my friend.
Thank you very much. And again, thank you for having me. I had a blast, and apologies for being late again and potentially screwing anything up.
No worries whatsoever. That's this business, baby. We get to adapt or die, and
Nice.
We're still living. We're still
Nice.
breathing. Anthony, have a great day, man.
You too, Paul. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday.
All right. We will remain on and answer a few phone calls also. Devin giving a 5-pack of memberships. Okay. That's what I'm talking about, baby. How about some of this? All right, our 5 new members to the Boy Green Coffee Club. Jeffrey R., Gilmy Goral Martin, Hobbs, Mutiny, Dropback Mark. You are all now members to the Boy Green Coffee Club. We appreciate it. And let's update the banner, baby. We're 198 members away from NY Jets FL getting his membership. Devin and anyone who supports the show in that way, that makes a tremendous difference. And like I said, allows us to do even more with the show. So all the memberships are welcome. And there he is again with a YouTube super chat. Every time we get a super chat in, we hear from my daughter, Zariah.
Wow.
DNY for life. Thank you for the super chat. Expecting a Jets juice game bricked up, which if you watch the Jake Asman show, everybody's getting bricked up, baby. It's great to see. Yeah, this is a rivalry to me, and there's some extra juice in this, and this is massively important. This was the other comment I was going to say to Anthony, and it dropped off my brain because I have the attention span of a goldfish. If the Bills beat the Jets, they've beaten their real competition, the AFC East, both inside their building. Screw New England. They suck. They're not winning the division. So Miami, they could potentially get Tua back, and maybe they can keep their season alive. But the Bills went to Miami, beat the Dolphins. If they go to the Jets and beat them, they're going to be up with a minimum of split in both of those games. It's going to be a wowzer. That's for sure. Dakota asks, Paul, is James Cook really out this week? I've heard both. He's not officially out. No one's officially out for that matter. But my vibe from talking to Bills people, it sounds like James Cook is going to be out for this contest. It sounds like he has a similar toe thing to CJ Mosley, who missed several weeks. So keep that in mind. Let's go back to the phone lines. Let's go to EZ here on the show. What's up, EZ?
Hey, good morning, Paul. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for the flexibility. I know you were trying to call in earlier, but the guest came in and all that hoopla, so thank you.
Yeah, I just came out of the green room, took care of some business, got some coffee with some Nestle's quick powder.
Ooh, okay, there you go. I respect it. Very nice
Me
choice.
like it, the mocha.
Okay, I respect it.
Someone in the blog asked me if I was gonna go to Rally Point Pub on Monday to see the game, and I don't know if he read it, but if my car is fixed, yes. If not, I have to call up ESPN Plus and figure out how to get it on my TV. Because just
All right.
because you have it doesn't mean you're going to get Monday Night Football. It's kind of flaky. If
Yeah.
that's the case, I'll figure out a place to go and watch the game because I am not missing the game.
Beautiful. I love it. Yeah, I've loved all your even when we do our game day shows or anything, when we get the rally point, you in the car or you were there, it's awesome. So we love it.
Yeah, I was there, for the game. I didn't get on the show, but you can see what goes on in the green room. You saw I was showing a couple of people there, and I was showing the place, and they actually did a great job. I got a shout out to Rally Point Pub. They had us come in they opened up at 9 o'clock for us. They usually open at 11, and they made a nice breakfast spread for us. You could either have 3 eggs, bacon, and hash browns and toast, or you could have a breakfast burrito, which I didn't have that, but a bunch of guys said that was delicious. And they also had some other kind of dish. I think they had, I can't remember. And then at 10 o'clock, when it was legal to serve alcohol, they had specials on Bloody Marys and mimosas. So it was really a fun day, and I mean the Jets almost came back, but
yeah, it was close. Which, by the way, I think should be. Now you can look at that in 2 ways. I look at it as inspiring. Again, I'm a glass half full guy, but like being that close and that we could be in a different universe, 4-1, gives me all the confidence going in. It'd be one thing if we're getting smacked around 47-3 in these games. We're not. So that's really inspiring to me that this Jets team's going to turn it around.
Well, 2 interceptions I blame on Alan Lazard.
Oh yeah,
he dropped that first down, and the very next pass was on a 3rd down, and Aaron was trying to play hero ball, and it got picked. And and then Alan Lazard had 2. It was a tough catch. I admit it would have been a tough catch, but he had 2 hands on the ball in the end zone. You got to bring it in.
100%.
There were what 3,200 players in the NFL,
give or take. Yeah.
And how many? And what 4 or 5 wide receivers on each team?
Somewhere in that ballpark, sure.
He's a highly paid veteran. Got to make the catch. Got to make the catch. Got to make that catch. And I think accountability. I would have had him on the jugs machine. I would have had him 15 minutes on the jugs machine for every catch he dropped.
That's a lot of minutes on the jugs machine.
I think I'd put Sauce on the jugs machine too, just to help it. Yeah, anyone in the defensive backfield, linebackers, safeties, corners, they got to be on the jugs machine because you never know. I mean, the only guys I'd let it get away with it are the linemen. That's not their wheelhouse. I mean, if they bat it in the air and catch it, that's great, but
think about it. Jermaine
that kid last week.
Quentin Williams has had a pick where he's caught it up in the air.
The one thing I miss about the passing of Madden was he used to love when the big guys got the ball and ran into him. So you get a big guy touchdown and a big guy spike, and he was great. That movie, The Replacements, was hysterical when he did the. God bless John Madden. I mean, he's so great. Yeah, who? There is no John Madden now. There's no one that good left.
Definitely not. No one has replaced him, and I don't know if anyone ever will.
The knowledge and the humor to combine the telestrator.
Yeah, right.
This guy goes here and this guy, that was awesome, man. I loved it. But the one question I wanted to ask that guy is, what did he think the Buffalo's biggest weakness was?
That's a good
because
question.
we know our weaknesses, but like you said at the very end of that segment, when you were talking about how we never know what the actual other team's fans think about their team, because you're always more critical of your own. So I was wondering what he thought the biggest weakness with Buffalo was.
Yeah, listening to some of those podcasts and some of those conversations of their own, like again, because they're talking to themselves. It's two Bills insiders like sharing their details. They just like kind of have a camera in the room, basically, on their conversations. Some of the things that I heard that are their biggest weakness is that lack of separation at wide receiver, and thus, and and everything from there kind of is a trickle effect of some of that losing. So that seems to be part of it as well.
Buffalo is in desperate need of a number one or at least a number two wideout. They don't have anybody.
Yeah,
I mean,
they
they
lost
really don't
David
have
Davis.
anybody. I feel bad. I feel bad because that means that Josh is going to have to run more. And I'm telling you, he was concussed last week. And I think if he gets hit this week, if I see his like hand seize up like that, I'm going to be really upset at the NFL because he was hurt and he was out cold.
It seemed like he was out cold from my observations of it, but again, according to the NFL, and Sal Capaccio is down there on the sideline. He's a Buffalo Bills sideline reporter. He joined us on Thursday afternoon. He said that the NFL went through all the proper protocol, and that it is what it is. So I said, "Wow, okay. Well, you were down there. I wasn't. So
maybe the kid's got a tough head. You know, he seems like to be
maybe
a pretty tough guy.
he seems it. So
He's a football player.
That's for sure, but it'll be something to watch because, once you kind of get concussed, the door's open for future concussions, but, it's not necessarily a linear injury. So, there's a lot of stuff that goes into that. All right, let's go to, and that's a good point by Joe Mike. The closest guy to John Madden might be John Gruden on YouTube, which is hilarious, by the way. If you've not seen it, Gruden loves football. Those are some great videos. Let's get another phone call in. Johnny Boy here on the show. What's up, Johnny?
Hey, Boy Green, what's going on, brother? Hey, did you hear the news that we fired Robert Saleh?
We did?
Yeah.
Oh, when did that come through?
I just heard about it today. It's crazy. Can't believe
wow.
it. I think they're talking about making Ulbrich the interim.
Oh, wow. That's a good choice. He would have been inside my top 10 of possible options. Yeah.
I thought maybe a little bit Hackett, but, what do I know?
Yeah, blown opportunity. Could have given him the keys to the franchise. Too
Anyway,
bad.
Yeah. Hey, no, I wanted to ask that dude. Am I hearing this wrong? I thought Cook is out for the game already. I thought they already designated him as out.
They did? Oh, okay. Then maybe I missed it. Then let me go
I don't
over
know.
to
Maybe
Bills
I'm
tonight
getting
and
it
see.
wrong, but I thought they
that's
said the running
official.
back dude was out for the game.
Yeah, the last tweet from the Bills is 14 hours ago, and it's talking about a Madden video game. Then there's a hat commercial, and then now we're on October 10th. So they haven't done a lot of tweets over the last 48 hours or so, it looks like to me. So I don't see any official designations out yet. That would be a little strange on Monday Night Football to have that designation, so far out. We will get that officially today. Should be the day that we get all the official rulings out, because normally we would have gotten it on Friday, but it's Monday Night Football, so it gets pushed today. We have one more day of practice today, and then we should get official. Like, maybe people are talking about it. Like I said, it looks unlikely because he hasn't practiced. Khalil Shakir, same thing. He hasn't practiced. So I would assume both of those two are out, but I haven't seen it official yet anywhere. And I just did a quick search and I haven't seen anything yet. But yeah, it's looking that way.
Yeah, I do have to say the guest you had on was really awesome, bro. So kudos to it was worth the wait. Let's just say that.
Oh, good. I appreciate that. So sorry, apologies to everybody else for all the delays. But yeah, he's a good guy. We'll have to have him back on.
But I have to say this: he did sound like he's not too high on his Bills. Like, you know what I mean?
It did not.
So,
right. Yeah.
It's intriguing to see what the Bills Mafia is really feeling in regards of, what's going on over there. And then to Easy's point with the whole Josh Allen stuff, I hope we knock his block off, man. Like, I'm sorry. You know what I'm saying? Win by any means necessary. We need to win. This is a must win now. They've put us in this position, and we have to win and continue to keep winning. Other than that, man, that's what I wanted to come up here because I'm more than certain that I saw that Cook was out.
Yeah. Let me do one more Twitter search. I'll see here. Let me.
And if that's the case, that's huge for us.
Oh, it's massive. If he does not play, that is an absolutely massive difference. Let's see. I'm hearing like there are Twitter doctors that say he's going to miss a couple of weeks, but like that's their speculation. I see that he hasn't been practicing. It's a foot-toe issue. Yeah, I still don't see any official rulings outside of just people generally saying, like, again, there's a couple of Twitter doctors that saw the injury and said, oh, he's going to miss this amount of time for a couple weeks. But yeah, still not official yet that I see anyway.
Okay. See, maybe that's what I saw then. But I promise you, bro, I saw that they were out and I was like, damn, that's crazy. He has
But
no
it looks like he's going to be out. So, like, again, I'm not trying to say that James Cook is going to play. It looks like he's going to be out. It looks like Khalil Shakir is going to be out. That's their number one wide receiver. James Cook is their number one running back. Their defense, they're going to be missing Ed Oliver. He's gone. That hamstring, that's not official yet, but he's not going to play. He hasn't practiced all week. Von Miller suspended. He's not going to play. Like, the Bills are hurting, but I don't give a flying hoot. This made me go, oh, man, sorry, Buffalo. Like, screw those guys. If you lose your guys, hey, man, it's a war of attrition. No one cried for us when we had injuries. So,
exactly.
yeah, it looks like they're going to be missing people, top guys in the offense, top guys in the defense, and that just means the Jets have to deliver. They got to handle their own business.
Yeah, man, we need to get this W, and I think things will start doing. And then the whole Hassan Reddick situation. I didn't know.
Yeah, I just read it. Yeah, I just read the report from this morning from the New York Post. Yeah,
dude, it's getting crazier and crazier with all the crap coming out in regards to him. Like now, talking about that the Jets have offered him, a whole bunch of different offers, and he's declined them, and he's just like no. And then I don't know, man. That's odd. So I have to take back in regards to JD. JD obviously was trying to make this happen and everything, and it's literally Hassan. Hassan is the one that's like, no, no, no. That's nuts, man. Maybe something's wrong with the noggin when he went to Japan, I guess. You know what I mean? I don't know, bro. And last thing,
yeah.
Do you drink?
Like very lightly. So, like, there's this. Have you ever? Are you a New Orleans guy at all? Have you ever had a hand grenade?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, okay. Well, see, that's like the drink. If people start putting that from me, I'm like, oh boy, now I'm making bad decisions. But besides that, I normally don't drink a lot.
So what you're saying is, on the next tailgate,
Yeah, if someone goes, "Hey, boy, green hand grenades," I'm gonna be like, "Oh boy, that's my kryptonite." That's where, like, all of a sudden you're gonna be getting boy green after dark in the middle of the day or whenever these are at. That's where all of a sudden crazy things start happening. Yes, that's true.
got
So if
it.
that is prepared, if someone has, and if someone who doesn't know what a hand grenade is, it's the most powerful drink in New Orleans. Is how they advertise. So guys who can look it up and get it shipped to you. It's a tasty drink, and all this. That's where all of a sudden I'm doing all kinds of stuff. Yes, that's true.
Snowball's watching.
Oh boy.
Please make some notes of that, sir, so we could, put that around. No, but I was gonna ask you,
Yeah.
it's going in the chat. Are you a mimosa guy, or are you a Bloody Mary guy?
So, if I had to pick one of the two, by the way, what's the lean right now? What are people saying?
A lot of people are going Bloody Mary. I'm going. I'm
I'd
going
probably go
mimosa.
mimosa.
I'm going mimosa.
Of the two choices, I'm going mimosa. Yeah,
Yeah,
Bloody Marys are disgusting.
yeah. It just sounds nasty too, bro. Like
It sounds nasty. It looks nasty. Tomato juice, like, no, man, no, thank you.
yeah. Hey, Boy Green, I appreciate you, man.
Yeah,
I can't wait for you and your pops on tomorrow, dude. That'll be
yeah.
dope. Everybody hit the sub, hit the like. You already know. And dude, worldwide tomorrow, bro. It's back. We
Who's
back.
up? Who set
We
us up?
back. It's a all women's panel
Ooh,
and
okay,
contestants,
nice.
all that. We're
Wow,
having a lot
terrific.
of people. The 4%ers are gonna be there. Bree and the Talking Jets are gonna be there. Abby's gonna be there. So
Awesome.
it'll be a really good one. So
Cool. That's awesome. Good for you
BG,
guys.
appreciate
All
you,
right,
brother.
we'll see you. Yeah, there he is, Johnny Boy, joining us on the show. Yeah, so hand grenades are my kryptonite. Oh boy, yep. We'll see what happens. Again, as we close, thank you guys for the flexibility, and we doing nearly a 2-hour show here for Pete's sake. Thank you for the flexibility with our Bills guest. He had something come up, so we just kind of pivoted. So appreciate you guys. We'll be back on tomorrow morning with Hop on Pop for that episode. Make sure you guys like the video, hit subscribe, spread the good gospel, baby. And again, our thoughts and love continue to be sent out to all our Florida people all the devastation. I've seen some of the clips that are coming through. So that is FL Phil 98. That's NY Jets FL. That's Ricky, New York. He's down there. Like, man, there is and so many more. I'm going to be missing people. Uncle T.O. There's a billion guys that are down there. So I don't want to miss anybody, but we are thinking about all you guys. So hopefully you guys are staying safe and getting through all this. All right, everybody, much love, and we'll see you tomorrow morning for some more Boy Green Daily. Thanks for the support. Thanks for the memberships, and we'll see you next time. Take care.